Welcome everyone to Beyond the Finish Line, where I review the latest weekly challenges, show which cars I used, and offer you potential cars to use yourself to complete the challenges. Typically, I like to use cars I haven't driven before or haven't driven much, unless the challenge calls for a specific car. I'll also show what changes I made to any car in order to make the race more challenging for myself. And also show you the strategy I used for the fifth race, which has always been a race with tire wear and fuel consumption, and can be the most challenging of the bunch. Now I'll quickly go through each race and showcase any highlights and blunders I may have had, and show what it took for me to get the win. And before we start, please like, comment and subscribe. A simple click for you is a big help to the channel and is appreciated more than I can express. Thank you. The races we have for March Week 5 are the New European Clubman Cup, a one-make special event in the New Eurus, a hypercar parade, a Vision Gran Turismo race, and a World Touring 700. The first race is 4 laps at Blue Moon Bay, and I chose to drive the Eurus in this one, even though it'll also be used in the next race. Race 2 is a dirt race, and I really wanted to take this for a spin. These are the changes I made for the race. I had already bought all the upgrades for the Eurus as soon as I bought it, so I just lowered the output adjustment and power restrictor. The Eurus was obviously still overpowered for this race, as I moved up the back of the field easily without any issues from the AI, and got up to P14 about halfway through the first lap. Back through this section on the second lap, I got up to P10, and then watched this BMW take off with some crazy speed. But then he had too much speed for the next turn and went off track. Then starting the third lap, the same BMW flies past me like I'm tied to a tree stump. Then to start the fourth, I was in a three-way battle for the lead, with another Eurus and a Countach. I ultimately got the lead heading into the first big bend, and it was clear sailing to the finish. Race 2, the one-make special event, 2 laps at Fisherman's Ranch, obviously in the Eurus again, only difference is we're on dirt tires. I kept the same setup from race 1. And as you see, I'm not the best in the dirt. This was a cool early moment. Then a little further up, this happened. And then I had this series of events. Then here after I landed, hitting the barrier sent me for a ride. I managed to survive this jump just barely. I hit the barrier quite a bit during this race. Then again, on this little jump, just missed the barrier, but still lost control and went for another ride. Then had to battle it out to get back into P4. On the big jump, I had a little fender bender on the landing. Getting close to the finish and going too wide here, it ended up working out for me with the inside cut. I got the lead and had to hold off the P2 right to the line. Third race is 5 laps at Trial Mountain, and I'm in the legendary 1994 McLaren F1. The only upgrades I installed are the power restrictor, which I lowered to 70, and the increased body rigidity, and I'm also on racing soft tires. By the time I hit the back straight, I moved up to P13, but wasn't able to make any overtakes, because the AI cars had slightly more power than me. But after the straight, going through all the different turns, was when I was able to finally make some passes and get myself into P8 before the end of the first lap. Jumping to the third lap, I moved into P3, then a little further down, with an inside cut I got into P2, and after the back straight I got the lead. And that was it for this one. I held the lead for the last 2 laps till the finish with a nice gap on P2. Race 4 is 7 laps at Interlagos, and I chose the Jaguar VGT SV for this one, and the setup for this car wasn't specific for this race. This setup is from when I was seeing if this car could do a money grind method, and with almost 1,000 horsepower, I never checked before I started this race. Here in the second, I was up to P12, and moving up the field without problems due to having so much power. Starting the 4th lap, after a little bump, I took P3, and looking to close the gap on P1 and 2 who each had a nice lead on me at this point. It took me the entire 4th lap to catch up to P2, and took the position after starting the 5th, then it took me almost 2 full laps to catch up to P1, and got the lead because he got caught behind last place. And it was clear sailing to the finish for the 7th and final lap with P2 not far behind. Final race is 10 laps at Laguna Seca, and I'm driving the Group 4 Corvette C7. I only added the ECU and the fully customizable racing transmission in order to keep it under the 700 pp requirement for this race. Here in the second and in P16, I caught this pack of cars and gained a few more positions and got up to P10 after passing all of them. I didn't catch up to the top half of the field till the 5th lap. I pitted at the end of the 6th in P5 and exited all the way back in P19. By the 8th lap, I was up to P10, and by the 9th lap with the AI pitting I was up to P7. Later in the lap I was able to move up to P4 with still some ground to gain on the top 3, but they were in my sights. I spent most of the final lap catching up to them, and on the downhill S after a little contact trying to take the inside, I eventually got into P1. And I held on through the last 2 turns and got the victory to end this week's challenges. I enjoyed this week's challenges, a good bunch of races that allowed you to use fast cars for each race, and I was happy with my car selection and the changes I made, for the most part. Race 1, the new European Cup, was fun because I got to use the new Urus on a road track. I still had too much power to make it a real challenge, but it was fun nonetheless. Second, the special event in the Urus was definitely a challenge because I'm not good in the dirt, and seeing how the Urus handles in the dirt added to the challenge. Not my ideal race, but it was good. Third race in the McLaren could have been better. I should have added the ECU so I could lower the power even more. It was fun driving the McLaren, but it ended up being easier than I expected. The 4th race in the Jaguar VGT was good too. I should have checked the setup before the race, because I could have lowered the power a little more to make it a bit more competitive, but it was still a fun race. The 5th and final race in the Group 4 Corvette was the most challenging of them all, with only a couple upgrades. I wasn't sure if it would be fast enough, but luckily it was, and it pretty much went down to the wire. All in all, the selection of races and my selection of cars made for some good and fun races. Getting to use the Urus in 2 different type of races was cool. And the 3rd, 4th, and 5th races being of the higher caliber of races is what made this week's challenges one of the better weeks we've had in my opinion. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time.